Improve your Python with the Python coder. In this video we're going to carry on with the Acey Deucy game, which is part of our Fun and Games series. This is the second video, so if you want to watch the first, you can look in the top right, there will be a link, and also below in the description. So we started off, we created the Acey Deucy game, and here's an example. We've got two cards, and in this game you need to bet on the chance of the next card being in between these two. So 5, that would be a winner. This video I'm going to play against the computer. Okay, Fun and Games, Acey Deucy, you v the computer. We can start off by replacing the user, the player, getting inputting the stake with the computer putting in the stake. So we change, so let's say stake equals get computer stake, get C stake, and we need to pass it the two cards so it can tell how much it needs to bet. So set that to stake. So we've got get C stake. So if we define the function, define get C stake, first of all we want to see what the difference is. So B is higher than A, so B minus A will give us the difference. But for example, if we had 8 and 10, 10 minus 8 is 2, but we've only got one card in between, so we need to minus 1. So we deduct 1, so now we have the difference. So how much is the computer going to stake? Well, let's say it's going to start off at 5. Now if the difference between the two cards is quite low, then it's just going to stay at 5. Now if the difference is, let's say, equal to 4 or 5, so we can say equal or equal 5, then let's put the stake as 10. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put in different stakes at the start as the tactic for the computer. So we're going to have elif, so we can put elif on each statement. Then we've got 4 and 5 is 10, maybe 6 would be 20, maybe 7 would be 50, maybe 8 would be 100, maybe 9 would be 200, and if different was 10 or different equals 11, then the stake would be 500. So the minimum is 5, maximum is 500, and then we could return the stake. So we can just move this window over to play. So there's only 5 rounds, so let's try for playing. So we've got 10 and queen, loser. 5 and jack, 7 was a winner, that was bet on 20. 8 and 10, just 5, that was a winner. 3 and ace, so that betted 500, was winner. 2 and 9 betted 20, was a winner. Now let's change the game so it's a 2-player game. So we had bank, but we need to have a bank for the computer and a bank for the player. So we're going to create 2 banks. Now when we start, we've got, let's go back to just 5 for testing purposes. What we're going to do is we're going to have another loop, and when it's 0, then the computer plays, and when it's 1, the player plays. So if J equals 0, so that's the computer, then bank equals bank C. So that means the computer's playing. And if J equals 1, that means that the player's playing. So the cards are going to be the same. So that's the same. Now, here's the difference. If J is 0, then that means that the computer is going to play. So perhaps we need to print C1 and C2 beforehand. So we're going to print the two cards, and then the computer's going to play. Now, if it's if J equals 1 means the player's playing, then we have our original code. So the game's the same, and then afterwards we're going to say if J is 0, and then we're going to say that the bank for the computer will equal the bank, and if J is 1, then the bank of the player will equal the bank. So there we've created two banks. We've got a second loop. If it's 0, the computer's playing. If it's 1, the player's playing. We need to move this code over. So let's go through our code to see what's going to happen. Right, we've got high ready to play. What we could put in here, if it's the computer, we could put some type of header in so we can see it's the computer's turn, and also do the same if it's the player's turn, so we know the computer, and then we can say player 1, for example. So then the cards come. So we want to print C1 and C2 to start off with. So let's have print C1, and let's encode, and C2. So then if it's a loser, then we can say it's a loser. Now that's fine. Now we've got C1 and C2 already. Now if it's a computer stake, I think perhaps we need to see the stake. So we say computer stake, comma, and then stake. And then we've got the user stake. Now what happens here? Now we can see we've got print C1, C3, C2, winner, bank, and loser bank. If J equals So that's code, and then perhaps at the end we can say print, and then we can have the computer's bank, which is bank C, and player we can have bank P at the end. Perhaps we could do with a slight delay. So what we can do, we can import time, and then we can have a slight delay. So we can have, let's have time dot sleep, and how many second delay? Let's just have a 2-second delay. So let's see how we get on with that. We can see that we shouldn't have moved this code over, otherwise it's only going to work for the player. So let's move that back so it works for the computer as well. And now when we save that, now we can try to run that. So let's run this and see how we get on. Right, computer, Jack and Queen, staked to 5 and lost. Player 1, 2 and 5, so not very good. 5. So now both at the same level. Computer, loser. Player 1, 2 and ace. Okay, let's say 500. Ace, loser. Oh dear. Computer, loser, 5. Player 1, 10 and king. Well, not going to have much chance here. Let's put tenner on lose. Oh dear. Computer, 6 and 7. And a winner. Player 1, 7 and 4. Oh dear. I don't think I'll have much chance of winning on this one. Computer, loser on 975. 5. So have to bet 500 on the last one to see if this wins, then player wins, if not computer wins. Loser. So oh dear. So that actually went underneath, so minus 20. We might need to revisit our code, and when the user puts their stake in, we can say if it's less than 500, then they only can have the amount of the stake. So we need to pass the bank to get stake. So we go back down our code. We've got get stake. We're going to have to pass the bank as well. Go back up. Get stake. I'm going to pass the bank. And here, and we've got incorrect. We've got if bank less than 500, then we can say the maximum equals the bank, and instead of having, let's say the max is normally 500, so let's say max for bank, max B, because max means the highest in Python, so we can't use that. So let's say max B here. So if the shot's greater than the amount, then in our error message we can say incorrect between 5 and then we're going to have string of, or we can actually just print out max B, and then please try again. So the user knows that that's how much they can gamble up to. So therefore then it won't go in the minuses like in the example. So let's check our code again. So we've got, if the cards are the same or there's only one difference, so we can see this else, so we do need to move these over, and we do need to move these over, but not these. So now let's try that. So we can save it. We can go back to our code. So that's most of the code, except for we created the limit, the max, when we get our stake, and we'd have to do the same with the computer. Computer gets the stake, we can pass the bank, and this would be the bank. So we can say if, for example, if bank is less than 500, then stake equals bank, else stake equals 500. So we could do that with all of these. So we can do it with the 200, and finally $10. Final look at the code. We can see we used sleep to create some time gaps so it wasn't too fast. We had two users, the computer and the player, so we just created for loop, and when J was 0 it was the computer playing, and 1 the player playing. We also had the computer betting different stakes depending on how many cards were in between the two cards, which is pretty much what a player is going to do. And the other alteration we made was making sure if someone had less than 500 in the bank, they can only bet up to how much they got into the bank. And that seemed to work. Well, if you like this video, please give us a like. And there are several other videos in this series that you may be interested in. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and if you want to support the channel, click the bell for notifications or share on Twitter or Facebook. Thank you for watching.